Your mechanic tells you to service your car regularly. Your AC repairman says to give him a call every couple of months. If you're like me, you probably wait until it's too late. But that's not the case at CUC. The stakes are too high. So today I get up close with the machines and learn what it takes to maintain each piece of equipment and keep the power on.
It's 5:55 a.m. and it's time to move safe. Safety is a priority at CUC. There's no better way to get ready for the day ahead. Time to do some stretches. Next, it was time to find out what was on the agenda for the team. I got to sit in on an early morning production meeting.
Just to catch me up to speed, we're working on the engine, or we're going to try and service a part of the engine today.
Checking to make sure that the parts are in good working order and that they can be reused.
This is Eddie and some of the men that ensure CUC powers came on as efficiently as possible. I asked him if the job we were going to do was like servicing a car engine.
A car engine doesn't use this, but if you kind of look at it in a way, it would be almost like a gasket in a way, because it goes between it's in between the cylinder.
So seals, things that wear and tear, we're going to investigate to see if they're still in good condition or if they need to be replaced.
Basically, yeah, because a lot of these components, sometimes they can have micro cracks that you can't see with the naked eye, so you have to use like a special chemical to actually bring that crack to life, that you can actually see it too.
Eddie then went over a few more protocols and the agenda for the day.
All right, guys, so Franco, go ahead and put your signature there, and the rest of you guys also.
So this is just to ensure that everybody is completely aware of the task that we're doing. We all agree that the safety concerns have been met, and you are asking them to show that in writing in the case that anything should go wrong. So this is a dangerous job then. It
is a dangerous job, yeah. Because what we do is we receive parts that from the engine room and we refurbish based on OEM recommendations. We're not rated directly in that line of fire such as the guys in the engine room, but we're still in the red zone, so everyone has to be vigilant and know, if there should be an emergency, where to meet up and everything like that.
No, what you're saying is making complete sense, because if I was a mechanic, I wouldn't be working on the car when it's running and I'm playing around with it. You're taking parts as needed. I'm sure when the engine is completely off, after you refurbish it, it gets installed, but it's you're keeping a buffer zone in between you and danger.
Exactly.
Okay.
So just making sure that everybody is safe at the end of the day and go back home to their families.
Work safe, smart. All right.
After that, Eddie and I went back down to prepare with the men for the job at hand.
We're going to be what you call crack testing the top end rings.
Okay.
There are times where you might look at it with a naked eye and say, everything looks good. But this dye actually gets into the crack. We then spray like a cleaner onto a rag, wipe off as much of the red dye as possible, and then we have something called a developer, which actually draws out the red dye and will actually show you the movement of a crack or something.
All right, so
you can't see with your eye.
Oh, I follow it. It makes sense. We're going to put a color in, and if we see the color come out, then we have a leak. and if we don't get if we don't see anything, then it's all right for another couple of months. How often do you do these tests? For a leak test like what we're doing today, how often would you do that?
Everything has a different time frame. I mean, this specific job is a top overhaul, which the engine has met its 18,000 hours. So that is part of the OEM recommendations to do this particular test whenever we're doing like a top overhaul or whatever.
So in your car, in your glove box, when you pull out the manual and it says every 10,000 miles, do you do it? Here at CUC, we're following the manufacturer's recommendations for changing out parts. So you were wearing that,
yes,
right? I'm gonna stand behind you. So the fumes are gone. Is it safe now just to hang around?
Yeah, it's been a while. Fumes have dissipated. The smoke is clear.
What am I looking at here?
Each of these engines have individual cylinders. So you have the piston. So this basically sits on top of the cylinder liner where the piston is based, and then you have the cylinder head that goes on top of it. So in a way, if you kind of put it in car terms, it's almost, I guess, would be like a head gasket. You know.
This big piece of metal is just a gasket that would fit in the engine.
I'm not saying it's a gasket, but when you look at a car engine, you have your cylinder, then you have a gasket, then you have your head.
Right.
You know, you have your block.
And that's what goes. They say, oh, I blew my head gasket.
Yeah.
Now I need to spend a whole heap of money. So we're testing this. So these holes on the side now, if this was back in the engine, what would be going through these holes? What passes through this piece?
What passes through here? You have a top and a bottom line here.
Yeah.
He uses O-rings.
Okay.
So in this whole chamber here, you have water passing through.
One big piece of rubber is stretched over this, and that has that's a seal on the top and the bottom. And then we say water now.
Yeah, water passes through here.
All these holes.
Basically, yeah. This is a big chamber right here, so you have water that's passing through here. That's actually cool.
And that's just to keep it cool. There's a lot of pressure, a lot of heat, and then they're pumping like cold water, or I don't know.
I don't want to call it cold water, but
yeah.
I mean, whatever temperature the engine is running at, that's you know, you have your cooling water.
Definitely not cold water. Don't put me around your car. All right. Level is rising, so I can suspect that just behind me we're going to walk in to see some heavy machinery.
Yes, you will.
So how does the maintenance department now link with the engine room crew?
So basically these guys are the ones that are responsible for removing all the components and sending them to the workshop, and we're the ones that receive them, refurbish, send them back, they reinstall.
Okay, so passing of the torch, where are you going to be focused?
We're going to be mainly focused on the top of the engine because this is a top overhaul, so...
No spark plugs?
Nah, no spark plugs.
All right. All right, you lead the way.
Sure.
All right. The engine noise is steady as we're walking by. So what size engines are in these buildings?
All right, this particular engine room is engine room 5. We have 5 MAN 4860 engines. 3 of which of those are 12 cylinders. The other 2 are 14 cylinders. And as we just came from engine room 6, where you see the top overhaul going on, those are the 18-cylinder engines.
And in your department, of all of the components that go together to keep these things running? What are the faults that you find come back the most?
Based on my experience, I would say maybe fuel injectors. I think fuel injectors are the most common, failure. But thankfully, not all of them fail at the same time. Maybe just one or so, so it's a quick repair.
And how fast is that? Okay, we have a failure today. Fuel injector comes to your department. How fast can you refurbish and get it back out?
Well, we always have a set of fuel injectors on standby as refurbished.
So there's no downtime then?
There's no real long downtime. So it's a quick, maybe 1 hour, 1 hour and a half hour job, and it's back online.
Nice.
Next, it was time to head over to the big engine. Boy, that's loud, Jesus. Lucky for me, I speak engine room lingo. We're going to look at lots of moving parts, connecting rods, the crankshaft, the oil sump, camshaft. Hey, did I mention it's loud? All of the components, the fuel pumps, the intake and exhaust valves, it's all timed like a Swiss watch. If the timing on the engine is off, it could cause major damage, which would result in the other engines having to bear the load. But that won't happen because the production maintenance department is on the job.
And now we get to meet the man who has the responsibility for all of the staff members that we met today. The youngest manager at CUC, Mr. Corey Miller. How you doing, man?
Good.
All right. Managing people isn't easy, you know? No. So I'm sure your day is filled with a lot of problems and issues that you have to solve. So tell me, as a manager sitting down behind his desk, what are you preoccupied with most?
Hopefully more solutions than problems. But yes, it's a pretty big group. You met some of the guys responsible for the group is kind of split into two. It's the mechanical maintenance department, which is the group we spent time in so far. The other group is the facilities maintenance group, which you'll see after. So on a day-to-day basis, I mean, because we're mechanical maintenance, there could be problems that arise, almost every day. So a lot of it is figuring out solutions to those problems. Still getting on with the day-to-day running of the department, training, development.
Mm-hmm. Did you start off in this role? Where did you come from?
No, so I actually started in this department when I returned from school. I was actually on a scholarship with CUC, so I returned from school, started out in the department as an engineer. I think I spent about 3 to 4 years in the department. Then I actually got seconded to Arizona for a year. Spent a year in Arizona with our sister company, Tucson Electric Power.
All supported by CUC?
Yes. And then upon returning from Arizona, I spent about another year or two in our engineering department, got some experience in the engineering side of things. And then this opportunity came up to kind of return to the same department I started in. So
how old are you now, Corey?
I'm 29.
29 with experience in engineering. You've been overseas, you know what a power plant looks like in the superpower of the world. You're here working in Cayman. What is the future that you see, or what is the future that you want for your involvement with CUC?
I mean, right now my main focus
Head of
is
the company. Let me get you there. the man in charge. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So my main focus right now, especially being new to this role, is really focused on efficiency. So kind of taking a bird's eye view of how the department works and how it fits within the company, and seeing where the areas we can improve on. To cut down on times of services, improve the quality, that kind of thing. Because at the end of the day, our goal is to hopefully focus on just planned maintenance than forced maintenance, what we call, right? Where a unit, break down, that kind of stuff, We ideally would like to be able to get from a planned maintenance to a planned maintenance, less downtime.
So Eddie was telling me that fuel injectors seem to be a common problem, and you have gotten to the point where you always have repaired, ready to go parts. So there is no downtime because you kind of have your data that you're looking back on to say, hey, these are the common issues. Let's always be ready with these parts on hand.
So fuel injector is one of the components. It's a pretty common component that needs to be replaced pretty frequently. So because of that, and we anticipate that, and we stock adequate amount of spares so that, you know, when the unit is down for service, it's a complete swap. You know, it's some other power plants, they'll actually, you know, take a little bit more time because they'll take off the fuel injectors, rebuild them, and then put them back on. Whereas we'll have a set kind of rebuilt, ready to go. So just swapping in and out, and then once the unit returns to service, then we have the time then to kind of rebuild them and get them ready for the next service. So
what about people coming into your department? Any young faces, any young Caymanians that are under your wing?
Yeah. We actually that was one of my, I guess, first challenges in the role that we had. We had a lot of vacancies to fill, and luckily we happened to fill them with a lot of young Caymanians. So we got quite a few good guys who are young, ambitious, eager, and you might have seen some of them out there. So we're very happy to be able to find them. And then the plan is that you know, with going from I think they started an apprentice 1, they go up to an apprentice 4, 5, to a mechanic, to a senior, foreman, supervisor. So there's a lot of room for them to grow. So
excellent. All right, last question. How's it paid? All right, thank you, bro.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. After my talk with Corey, I headed back to one of the offices on the way. I came upon a training exercise in session. CUC ensures that all employees are up to date and well trained on industry standard practices. This is a distillery which produces fresh water and supplies the fire systems in the case of an emergency. Also, it produces water to cool the engines. It helps those engines to run more efficiently.
There's always a heightened sense of awareness when you step into CUC. Today I learned that prevention is better than cure, and you got to see firsthand what it's like to work in the production maintenance department at CUC.